guys, it's Chandra. I've been a little bit MIA around here lately, but for good reason. There's nothing like crazy going on or anything like that. I've been working on this long-awaited real podcast that I've probably been talking about for like the better part of 2 years. This all kind of sprang up from my presence on Instagram. So a couple of years ago, I started this Instagram after losing 100 pounds, and I just wanted to share my story. I just wanted to, have these struggles with body image and struggles with maintenance and still having weight to lose and just all the stuff that comes with it. And so I built a following pretty fast. And what I came out of that realizing was that while it was started for weight loss, and while I thought that that was really what it was actually about what so many of us are facing. And that's just how to do life, I talk to all these women that are in their 20s and 30s, and we're all facing similar things. Even if it's not weight loss, it's motherhood, it's parenting, it's marriage, it's all kinds of relationships. It's what I'm doing with my life. It's it's being broke. It's all of these different things, and how we all share so many common threads and facets in that regard. And what I found was that there's so many people doing things really well, some things really, really well, and that we have so much to offer one another, and that the foundation for that starts in sharing your story. And so I love to do that, and I love that it encourages other people sometimes to do it. And I love that in connecting with people in this way, we just find that we're not alone, and we find ways to do things better and to optimize our lives and to live the life that, we all yearn for. So that led me to the premise for this podcast, which was to, just to talk to real life people who are in that, people who are struggling with where they're trying to go, with how to get there. Maybe it's body image, maybe it's parenting, maybe it's whatever. But I just wanted to talk to people who are crushing it on one thing or really struggling with another thing. And I just wanted to hear real people share real stories. So that is what led me here. This is Survive to Thrive. And the idea, much like loser mentality, is this play on words of getting from state A to state B. So many of us are just kind of living life right now, at least in some aspects, feeling like we're just surviving. We're just trying to get through each day. We're trying to figure things out. We're actually pretty lost. Sometimes we're hopeless. We're facing really hard things. But the goal is to get to a place of thriving. So that being said, I was racking my brain for people that I could talk to. And, I crowdsourced my audience and was like, what do you guys want to talk about? And people wanted to talk about literally everything. So, Nicole Mayer popped in my head, and she's somebody that I met in the last year. I actually met her through work, but we pretty quickly forged a friendship and started devouring each other's content on social media. And I realized, even though, we're struggling and sharing some of the same things, we're also really thriving in some things too. And I just love her story. I love her realness. And so I want to tell you a little bit about her. I'm gonna explain a little bit about her background and then introduce her, and I'm gonna let her chat after that. So Nicole is a Chicago area business owner and financial advisor. And she's worked with, you'll have to correct me on this, I can't remember how many clients, but a ton of clients over the last decade. And she's also now building another successful business where she is trying to do exactly what we're talking about, which is to give people financial guidance and advice, and as it pertains to helping them figure out how to live their best life. So Nicole Mayer, tell me a little bit about you and your background, but also about your business and what you're helping people do.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited. This is a passion of mine. And when we hear the word financial advisor, I think all of our faces want to cringe, because either they want to try and sell us something, B, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. So we want to just run far away. One thing is, my partners and I believe the model is broken. Our industry is totally broken. And how do we come about and do something different and fix it? So really the last 15 years of my career, it's how do I show people that this is so different from what you think of an advisor? So I got started 15 years ago, right out of college. I'm 37 too, and I really love helping people. And I really love giving people advice. And some people don't know about this, but my dad lost his job when I was a freshman in college. I have two siblings with special needs, and I did not want to burden my parents with definitely more things to think about, like paying my student loan or paying my college tuition. So I kind of just got into finance. I did made some major mistakes on my own because I was trying to be helpful and help my family, and I got into all this student loan debt, and I got into the financial services industry, and I just loved meeting people. Loved meeting people, even though I had no idea what the heck I was doing for my own self, and I didn't realize till later down the road how many mistakes I made on my own financial journey. But loved helping people and loved not selling people things. Like I like educating, and I really wanted to be a teacher, but I got to be honest and totally truthful. Like I also like to make money, and so this just was a more career where I could live the lifestyle I wanted to live, and I could still do the things I love. And so I got into this. At first, I thought the first 3 years of my career was pretty decent, and then we went into 2008, 2009, the financial recession, and I realized that a lot of people in this industry are scumbags. I mean, that's really the best way to say it. And I'm like, that is so not me. I need to sleep at night. It was so bad that literally I ended up in the hospital a few times for anxiety attacks because where I was working, they were having me do things with people's money that I just wasn't comfortable with. And then until my parents finally said to me, like, if you're not comfortable, don't do it. And that's when I was ready to walk away. And I met my business partner and realized, like, oh my God, there's people out there that do the right thing, that actually put a plan together, not just say they're doing a plan and guys to sell something, but actually plan for people. And I joined Second Opinion Partners, which was great. And really since then, just been developing a system that can just take people to a different level and really get to know people and help get past. Everyone thinks money is their problem, just like we think weight is our problem. You know, weight is not your problem. Money's not your problem. There's normally something else going on. And we like to project that it's that. And listen, I've struggled on the weight thing. I've lost 90 pounds and I've gained back 60 of the pounds, and I'm on a roller coaster with that. And just like, my weight isn't the issue. It's not what I put in my mouth. It's so much more of like what's going on within me. I mean, I know you know that. It's the same in our business, in the money business. It's not the money. It's what's going on. You and your spouse are on different pages. You're comparing yourself to others. There's so much. So really, I have dove in to say how this financial services model is broken. How do we make it different? And I want to be the one to make it different, and I want to help people get to and through their goals successfully. I mean, that's really my goal. And I've learned so much from amazing people on how to live a really good life when you're meeting people at all different stages of their life, and they have a ton more than you or less than you, and you're just like, your appreciation and gratitude for things is amazing. So it's kind of how my little journey on getting started and where I am today. So Second Opinion Partners, it's really about educating them so they can make decisions with confidence. It's not about any product. Products are a commodity. You can get them anywhere, but it's about getting them a plan so they can put it in place.
I love that. And I think that, I relate to how I really feel like you are just in service to people. So I think about, like, I can't even imagine what I know nothing about, like, the financial world or like being a financial advisor. I have no idea what that entails on a day-to-day basis, but I imagine if you're sitting down having conversations like this about money, which is such like a personal thing, and people have so much emotion and so much like energy of lack or energy of abundance around money, and it really is a part of all of the other parts of life. So if you're thinking about it like that, like what, take me through a day of like Nicole at work. So you sit down with people all day long, and what part of your job gives you the most confidence? Like, what are you most excited about and lit up about when you're dealing with clients?
So I have two really quick stories, because one, I literally just got off the phone with a client, and it happens to be a client's kid who graduated from college 5 years ago, lives in North Carolina, girlfriend about to get engaged, and they're looking at houses. And he's like, I don't know, my parents told me I need to talk to you. I'm probably not the best at this. Like, I'm not even sure I'm doing anything right. And I totally was able just to like listen, you're not doing anything wrong, and you may not be doing anything like right, whatever right is, but I'm like, we haven't figured out what's right for you yet. So it just gives me so much joy to be able to educate him and get him started way sooner than I was even able to get my own self started on down a path of, putting himself in a position where he's working towards his goals. Again, his goals may be totally different than anyone else's who's 26, 27 years old, but working towards his goals. So I love that stuff. It just like gives me so much joy. And then the other is people who have worked so hard their whole lives. And the couple I'm thinking of that I talked to last week, they have just been busting their butts to like be able to not be in the hamster wheel of the grind every day. And we have been planning for the last 6 years on how we make that happen. And they're really going to be transitioning into not working their full-time jobs, but going and doing something that they enjoy, and just kind of for fun money, not because they have to work even, just because they want to keep busy, but just like being able to help people on that next journey. And obviously COVID has thrown a wrench into some of this because, I normally get to vicariously live through them traveling or doing things. Because I always tell people, like, your sound mind, you're healthy, and you're mobile, like these are the times to do things, especially for my clients transitioning into retirement. But I just get so much joy when they get to go from transitioning from where they were to where they are. It's like hitting that goal. And then how do we sustain that goal and make sure that they feel good about it throughout? And again, it's like every other goal and journey in life. It's like, it's not like once you get there, all right, I'm done and party on. No, it's like a constant like, hey, we're going to work at this. We're going to make sure we're on track. We're going to make sure we're doing the things we're supposed to be doing. But really getting to like, help them also create their next journey. I call it like the next chapter. Okay, what does the chapter look like? What do you guys enjoy? What do you want to do? What's important to you? And the other thing is like living through some of the toughest times when people are losing a job, facing health scares. My journey in particular, like I swear, life on purpose threw everything at me in the first like 5 years of really real adulting. I went through having a tumor on my liver. I went through $160,000 of student loan debt, having a baby, getting divorced. In that time too, like that's when I lost a ton of weight. Just like everything that you could imagine throwing at a person was thrown at me. But I can connect and relate to people so much better. And while I may not be experiencing what they've gone through, I just have an empathy for them and knowing like, when a doctor tells you like, hey, you may never be able to have children, or, I don't know what you have going on, but I want you to prepare for the worst. It looks the worst. Like that, you can't understand what someone goes through when they sit in that room until you've gone through it. And I've been there, and thank God I'm here today, and everything's good, but you just like, you don't know. And I feel like for whatever reason, my place on earth here was meant to be able to connect with some people going through some of those challenging times. So as much as I get to go through the happy stuff, I love being like the person to help kind of like shepherd them through the really tough times too, when it's like when people really don't know what to say to someone that's going through a major health thing or going through like, oh my God, a job loss, and we don't know like what we're going to do to pay our mortgage next month. Those are major things. So
Yeah, I love one of the first things when I started stalking your social media that I instantly connected with and loved about you was just how like no BS you are. You know what I mean? Like it's so apparent, and I've gotten to know it more just getting to know you. But like you just have this, I think we have like I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone else, but like I have this preconceived idea of a financial advisor as like this, power suit, like bitchy, like type A, boring, like advice giving person that doesn't really, that just gives like shiny, shallow advice. And what I loved about you off the bat was that you were that you shared your real life story and that it was real. It wasn't some BS made up nonsense. It was like, wow, she's been through like really, really flipping hard stuff. That we can like on some level, all of us can relate to those types of things. And I mean, I hate for you that you've had struggle, but like I love that you've had struggle because it makes me feel like you're a real human who might be able to talk to me like a real human and give me advice that is actually relevant to my life. So That being said, that's a great premise for this. So, like I said, I'm almost 37 years old. I've basically been an entrepreneur and a small business owner from, the time I was 24 years old, which is when I opened my first business. And I learned a million mistakes every possible hard way you could. Like, my business failed. I ended up having to sell it. I lost my home. We had no money. We had tax debt. Like, we were screwed a lot of ways. And it took us almost a decade to dig out of that. So, like, to say now at 36 that I really have come through a lot and worked hard to even get to this place where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm stable. Like, we own a home again. We're good. Like, we really have like no debt. I feel really good about that. But I also have zero plan. Like, I'll be completely honest about that. I have never been to a financial advisor. I have no idea what that even entails. I have, like, we have a 401k that's probably got like something in it, and like, we've got some stocks, but like, I don't really know where they are, and I don't really know what they're doing. I have no idea how much money we should have. I have no idea where we should be, or if I'm like crushing it or sucking at it really bad. I don't know. So my question to you is, you talk to people every day from all walks of life and in all different levels of wealth. Like, tell me that I'm not like the worst person, the only person with no plan. Like,
You are not alone. You are definitely not alone. I would say it's like most people, or here, it's like the common story is like, oh my God, I've accumulated all this crap throughout the years. I have no idea. I have 401k here. I have some stuff here, but you have no plan, which totally is normal. And here's the thing. I'll tell people, most people end up not getting a plan until one of two things happen. One, a major life event happens that's probably not expected and not favorable from the sense of like, oh crap, someone's sick, a job loss, or something major. The next is like, oh my God, I'm in my late 50s and like 60s are around the corner and I don't want to do this every day. And that's when people wake up. I think at 37, if you are realizing like, hey, I don't have a plan, you are in the best position ever to start getting a plan. So that's good, because you have time in front of you. And, I think the best thing is like, the idea is it's for you to get educated. There's going to be detours on your journey. You don't know what they are going to be. None of us. There's going to be good stuff and there's going to be not so good stuff. And the idea is that the earlier you can get educated about your situation, you can make decisions with confidence. And you can, like, I always equate it to like, listen, you tell me you want to go to California and you're in Michigan. All right, great. I'm going to give you a map. And I'm going to tell you all about where to go, where to stop, what to see on the way. But unfortunately, Google Maps doesn't update all the time, and there's going to be a detour. But you are going to have so much information, enough information, that you are going to be able to navigate that detour with no problem. And that's the idea. So I say, you're not alone. It's not too late. It's actually perfect because you have this time in front of you. You have hopefully no major events going on in your life that are life altering, that you can like really take the time to like, no, you're not in there making an emotional decision because God forbid a family member is sick or whatever. So you're in the right time period. This is the time to do it.
Okay, good. I feel a little a little better about that. So, I'm somebody who really likes to, like, I'm an action taker. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not the case as anyone. So I will take drastic action fast and I will put it to a plan. Like, I need details. I need like concrete steps, like do this first, do that, stop doing this, go here, call this person. So if you could give me like 3 action steps right now that someone in my shoes or someone who doesn't really have a plan, doesn't really know what to do in regards to finances and their money and stuff like that. Like, what should I do right now? Should I be calling a financial advisor? Should I be like, figuring out where my stuff is? Like, do I Dave Ramsey it and like build a savings account? Like, what should I be doing? Like, give me 3 action steps.
Those are awesome. So no problem. So the first thing I would tell someone is, the first thing you do, take an inventory of everything you have. And then take an inventory. The second thing you're going to do is figure out, where is everything going on a monthly basis? Like, where is it going? Are you at Starbucks, 3 times a week, 4 times a week? Okay. And like where is it? And you can, and I'm not telling you to stop the Starbucks runs or any like that stuff, but it's helpful to know everything you have and where it's going. Those are the first things. Second is you got to list out, and I think this is a great thing, an exercise over a glass of wine with your husband. And I know you guys take those nice little weekend trips, and this is a perfect little thing to do, is like, what do you guys want? Like, how do you envision your future? Like, what does it look like? Where are you? What do you see yourself doing? And then, like, that is such a great foundation to take to an advisor. And then let's talk about who the advisor you're going to. Do not go to someone who is going to work with you for free. And I know we all love free. I love free. I am like the free queen. But if they're working for free, they're going to sell you something, guaranteed, because they're not working for free. So you're gonna give them everything you have, and they're like, here's what I can sell you. You don't want that. Like right now, you want someone that you're going to pay to do a plan for you and to educate you. And you don't want to be sold anything because you want them. It's like, think about it this way. You're going to go for a full financial physical. They should be going over everything from taxes to your estate planning. So those wills and trusts, you got little kids. We got to make sure they're taken care of. God forbid something happens to you. Retirement planning, insurance, and investments. They should cover all of those things. And you're going to pay them a fee. And you know how they got paid. And then they're going to give you the full physical and all that. And they're going to give you a prescription. They may say, hey, listen, I bet you didn't know this, but you're doing really good at this. And you're doing really good at that. And this needs a little bit of work if you really want that goal. And that's what they should tell you. So just like when you go to the doctor for your annual physical and they're like, hey, keep eating all those fruits and veggies. You're doing great. Your numbers look awesome, but this not so great. That's what it should be like so that you guys can get. And then you guys can go. Investments, products, all that stuff, that's a commodity these days. You can get it anywhere. So that is like the least concern right now. It's tell me, get an inventory of everything you got. Where's it all going? And then what are your goals? Like, what do you guys envision your future? And sometimes a really good advisor is going to help facilitate that last one. How do you envision your future? Because you guys are like, well, I want to sit on a beach somewhere, or I want to do this. Okay, but like they'll help you go a little farther and like what does that look like? And what if your kids live on different coasts, and take you through a bunch of different things so that you can guys help envision even better what that looks like.
I love that. Yeah. So I'm like thinking about my own. What do I want? What am I trying to do? My husband and I have these conversations a lot, and we'd love to, like you pointed out, take a little weekend getaway up north or something, and we just take that time to, like, for one, not be with our kids because that's a really starting point, just to like get fresh and clear and like have that time to talk and like eat food when you can like hear your own voice. But we talk a lot about like what do we want to do this year? Like, do we want to buy a new house and like have property in the woods, or like maybe we just want to keep this house. It's a really great location. Like maybe we want to buy a vacation property, or maybe we want to like make some investments so we've got something for our kids, like college education. I don't know. Maybe we're going to leave them to our own devices, but we love to have these kinds of conversations, and I think it's like a really good starting point for me. I'm just such a, I talk about this a lot, like on my platforms about getting really clear about what you want and where you're going, because that helps you decide what does and does not fit into that. And I know that you talk about this a lot. So, I've also been super open and super vulnerable about, struggles that I've gone through personally over the last year, like losing a child and, facing depression for the first time in my life, and like dealing with life after weight loss, which I thought was going to be like, oh, I've arrived, everything's perfect. And it turns out like it's actually the hardest part of all, truth be told. And there's always like this is some of the stuff that I've like learned partially from this community and partially just from like having to drag myself through it and figure it out. But there's these like basic tenets that I kind of always like fall back on when I'm really down, or when I'm super lost, or when I'm feeling without hope. And that's sometimes it's things like, okay, I got to get really clear about what I want and where I'm trying to go, so that I know, like I said, that it's not this, or this doesn't fit into that vision, or whatever, or these people don't fit into that vision, or like boundaries are needed here with people, or whatever it might be. But also sometimes when you're just in a really low place, it's really simple daily habits. Like for me, it's it's like brushing my teeth and making my bed. And those might seem like really super underachieving things, but sometimes we go into like autopilot and we just kind of like shut off and we go through the movements of life, but we're not really present. And so for me, those things are the difference a lot of times between just wallowing in under living, surviving, as opposed to thriving and like taking action. And like I said, you talk about these things a lot. And I know that you also have been in some dark, deep, hard places. Like you've talked a little bit about it, like with health issues and going through a divorce and being super broke and like having a new baby and all of that. Like those are ridiculously hard places to be in. So what I'm really interested in, because you've obviously figured some of, like, you've gotten through it. You're here now. You're on the other side of that. Not to say that like our struggles aren't over. There's plenty more in the future, but like, what are those basic things to you? Like, give me, like a day in the life of, Nicole life. Like, what are your patterns? What are those things that you fall back on? I know you talk a lot about gratitude and affirmation and stuff like that. So tell me those things that are foundational to you.
So I learned a long time ago, actually probably in some of my darkest places, that I am the power that can change my circumstance. Like I am in full control, and you can control the controllables, and I can control my circumstance. And I think we, especially today, we just live in a society where like you can kind of play the victim and wallow in your own like the world sucks and everything's going down. And listen, don't think I don't struggle with certain things now when things aren't going the right way and life is not what it's like meant to be or where I think it should be. And I think the biggest thing that I do, gratitude is huge. It really, really changed my life. There's an awesome book, and I think it's called The Happiness Advantage. And I actually was the guy who wrote it. It went to Harvard, and they did a study on like it actually changing the wire of your brains. And I happened to see him speak at such a pivotal time in my life. Like I was really in just a dark place. I was going through divorce. I was 29 years old. I was about to have, it was a month before my having half my liver cut out. I'm, having to put like these estate planning documents if I die and life insurance and all this stuff together. And I was just in a really bad place. Like, I can't believe this is my life. Like, this is not what it was supposed to be. And this is not how I envisioned it, like most people, you envision like the white picket fence life and like everything's going to be good. I didn't expect to be, 29, divorced. I moved in back with my parents because it made sense financially and I needed medically. I couldn't lift my 18-month-old for almost 6 months after surgery. So I was in a really dark place and wasn't feeling so good. And I had to come to work every day and meet with people who from the outside seemingly like had no problems, like had millions of dollars, and I'm helping them manage millions of dollars when I'm like, I'm living in my parents' house. Like, this is not what I envisioned my life to be like, and part of it was necessity at the time. And like one of the things I started to do was every night before, and I still do this now, and I catch myself like sometimes I'll go a couple days without doing it and I realize it totally 100% impacts my entire psyche and my mood and everything. But I go to bed and I think about all the things I'm thankful for and all the things I'm grateful for. And I just ask the universe, like, whatever you believe in, whether it's God or someone else or whatnot, I just ask the universe to continue to bring me surround me with good people that help me be the best version of myself. That's something that's so important to me, and that I can help people be the best version of themselves. But I always say, like, my son I'm thankful for. When you're 23, 24, and you're sitting in a doctor's office and they think you have cancer all over your body, and they say, and you're engaged at the time, and you're like, and you're all happy because you're about to get married, and you're thinking, like, I'm going to have kids one day, and they're saying, you may not ever have kids, and I don't know if we're going to have time to, like, freeze eggs and do all this stuff. He's a miracle. He is my miracle, and I'm so thankful for him. And then my job, the fact that I can do what I do every day and help people is amazing. And and I help people through some of the happiest times. I help people through some of the saddest times. And so like that, it just like makes me emotional because I am so beyond grateful for it. And then, the roof over my head. Like when I talk about things that I do. So one of the things I've done over the years is I have on my closet, like I'm a teenager or something, I have all these goals and they're based on and at the top it says, my age, your kid's age, and then like all these, and they have to be, they're measurable goals. So I'll have to, all sorts of things from the time of like when I get home at night, my cell phone is away. I'm not on it till my son goes to bed. Like that was something that was important to me to be present in the moment. To I want to take 2 vacations a year. To I want to have so much money in the bank. To I wanted my student loans paid off. Like all this stuff. So I have over the years from the time like I think I did that in my darkest place. I was about 29 when this happened. So my first goal was like 32 to have all these. And I'll say last year, when I turned 36, there was like my last set of goals that I had done in a while, like really big goals. I was a Friday night and I was kind of down and out. Dating in your 30s is a whole nother podcast we could do. Um, I was just like down and out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so thankful. I have so many amazing things going on in my world, but like, my personal life and not having someone was a challenge. And then I looked at these goals and I messaged my business partner who happens to be my mentor. And I'm like, I can't. And I took a picture. And I'm like, I can't even believe it. Like, I'm like sitting here on a Friday night crying because I like reached all these things that I never thought. One of my goals was to live within 10 miles of my office. I used to commute 45 minutes an hour. Right around my office is super affluent. I never thought I'd be able to afford, it was like, I have a house. It might be the smallest house in the neighborhood, but I have a house like a mile from my office, not even 10 miles. So it's like all these things came to fruition. So I think writing and seeing your goals every day, by the way, I used to actually have all my goals in the shower and laminated so I can see them every single day. So I'm going to talk about a weirdo. But they're on my closet. And then literally rewiring your brain. And I do this with everything in my life. So a couple things too is people always are like, you're too nice. You're too nice. You like don't let things get to you. Because I always ask myself, is it worth it? Is it something is it something I can fix? Is it something I can control? Is it not something I control? And is it worth it? And then also like people piss us off all the time. You could be in traffic, you could be this. If you let that stuff get to you, you realize it impacts everything. It impacts your mood, it impacts your work, it impacts your relationship with your kids, it impacts everything. And sometimes when I got to this place, I call it living in the gray. It's a weird place to be because I feel like we always are like either euphoric, like everything's going so wonderful in my life, or you're like down in the dumps. But to like live in this area that I call the gray is super difficult because it's uncomfortable because we're so used. So I've learned to live in the gray. People I think I'm weird because there's just things that I'm like, whatever, it's like I'll figure it out, it'll get fixed, it'll do whatever. Or gosh, you should be so mad at her, like friends and stuff. And I'm like, it's not worth it. It's like not worth it. So what do? Instead of being mad at someone, I find someone that I am thankful for and I write them a letter and say, hey, thank you. And it switches my mood completely because I'm thinking of something positive. So you can use this not just in your financial world, but like everything you do. And it starts to change the way you live. It starts to change the things that come into your life. And it takes work. And it's so much easier being a victim and being like, oh, well, my circumstances, it's because of this, my life sucks or whatever. And no matter what it is, it's so much easier being the victim. And I just choose not to. Like I always tell people, I'm like, I don't know, somehow I always just pull up my big girl pants and I'm like, I've got to keep jogging and keep moving forward. Because life isn't necessarily how I envisioned, but I wouldn't change my journey at all. Like this is my journey. I was meant to be on it. This is what I do. And each relationship that comes into my life, clients, personal relationships, I learn something, I take it and I make that, that next mile or two in my life even better.
Yeah, I love this. I knew I would love what you had to say about gratitude because gratitude has been like without a doubt, gratitude has changed my life. I've, like, I don't know when I first discovered this idea, but it was like, it came into my realm of understanding that like how many times a day we actually just sit and stew in negativity and we don't even realize it. Like how many negative thoughts we have about our body or beliefs about ourselves, like self-limiting beliefs about what we're capable of doing. Like when you start to audit those thoughts, even for like just 10 or 20 minutes of your day, it's like, oh my gosh, like I found that my brain was just bombarded with these thoughts like, oh, I could never do that. It's too hard, or I'm not an athlete, or like I'm too fat. I need to lose weight, or like I shouldn't eat that food. It's bad food, or like I just need to get back on track. Like that was one that somebody just pointed out to me recently. But like all these different things about like what we're not capable of, or like how we feel about things. Like about, I always was a person who felt like I needed to put like labels on things. Like I don't like that. I don't like them. I don't do those types of things. I don't hang out with people like that, or I only do this. And it was like when I started to just audit it and realize like what sort of self-sabotage I was doing inside my own head, I was like, oh my gosh, it was just this crazy light bulb. And then I was like, I think it was like an Oprah episode, probably legitimately 15 or 20 years ago, where she interviewed some guy, some author, I should remember his name, but I don't, who wrote about, having a daily gratitude journal or exercise and how it rewires the brain. And that's when I first, like early in my weight loss journey, that's when I first started like just becoming aware. Like step one was just like being aware of the thoughts. It was like every single time I had a thought of like what I was capable of doing or how hard something was going to be, or negative thoughts about my body or my life, and not doing anything about it, just noticing them. And then that sort of, transitioned into just replacing them. And at first it was really hard because it was like, oh, I hate my body. I look so fat and everything that I put on. And then it was like, okay, just let it go. Just let it go. And then it was like, at first it was like 100 times an hour that I was like, oh, let it go. Oh, let it go. But then over time I was like, okay, I was able to find, more and more things to put positive emphasis on. So it's not about, and still to this day, it's not about like trying to not believe that thing. Like it's much harder to change a thought that exists than it is to just have a different one about something else that exists. So instead of being like, oh no, just kidding, I love my body, which in a lot of moments feels like a lie, I just let it go and instead put my energy on something that I do believe about myself. Like, um, I have a really great marriage, or like I'm a good mom, or I have great friendships, or like I'm really good at my job, like whatever the thing is, or I'm excited about a thing. It's just like staying in a flow state or in like a positive state of energy that just transforms those moments. So,
And
I
those
mean, I could
positive affirmations are like exactly what you're saying right now. Also, another weird thing is like in my bedroom on my mirror, like, like I'm 15 again. I have stuff written in, chalk pen or whatever, and they're my positive affirmations. And I'm realizing, you start to realize too, like, oh my gosh, when your kids get some of what I call your like negative traits, and seeing my son, like he's so smart and he's had a really challenging couple years, he's diagnosed with dyslexia, and seeing him think so terribly of himself even though he's so successful in so many things. And that's me, like I've always been overachiever and super successful, but then I pick on everything that could possibly be negative, and realizing like, oh my gosh, I have to work on the positive self-talk, and like I have to teach him to save him years of anguish and having to learn this later down the road. But like that, those positive affirmations, and like actually putting stuff down that you truly do believe. Like I am an awesome mom, and I do amazing at work, and like people do like, like all those things. So I have those. I look at them every morning. I look at them at night, and like I tell people too, you don't even need a journal to do a gratitude journal. I don't care if you're just laying in your bed at night and you're just thinking and you say it out loud. Like that's all you need. That's it. So you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything special. Like it's literally just yourself and taking 2 to 3 minutes to like be in that moment of being thankful for things.
well, and it's really amazing. Excuse me. It's really amazing how, like, I found when I started doing it on a regular basis that there were people in my life that just kind of like pulled out of my life. It was like, we're talking about, instead of like sitting around with girlfriends and stewing about like Karen who always does that thing and it's so annoying. No offense to any Karens, we love Karens. But the people who want to stay in that place, the people who want to live in that energy and don't want to move forward out of it, will find their way out. And that's not maybe not like the thing that we're hoping for when we're instituting, personal growth change in our life, but it's really interesting how it happens. And then in addition to that, it's really interesting how it impacts other people and brings people in. Like I have just found, I've done like a very similar practice with my boys. And my boys are only 4 and 6. Like I share this on my Instagram all the time. But every morning we wait for the bus in the car, and we all do 3 things that we're grateful for. And my son calls it positive focus, which is just like the cutest thing. I'm like, I love that you figured it out. Yeah, he's 6. And they know to like find something current and present that's happening. They know how to like shift their focus into something. Like they know how to pick something real and tangible. But it's really, really cool. And we've recently taken it one step further, and we also each take turns pointing out things that we really love about one another. So like my boys who constantly fight and like beat each other up are kind of like forced to like step outside of that and find something about their brother that they find endearing or that they enjoy about them. And it's just like, it's super, super cool. So those are fun exercises. I could literally talk about gratitude for like 12, podcast episodes, but I want to bring it back in because you're doing some really stinking cool things right now that I'm really excited for you about. And I want you to give, like, I know it's like, like it's still in the works a little bit, but, Nicole, this is my best understanding of it, but Nicole has developed a program, and the foundation of it is financial, but her goal is to, like through finances, help people figure out what it is that they actually want out of life and then get from where they are to that place, which is like, thank you, Jesus, and amen. Can you please like tell us a little bit about Live Your Best Life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, totally came up with a program. One of the things that our clients get to experience is this whole process of, again, it's not about the money. The money is never the issue. Like, even clients come into my office that have plenty of money and never have a question about if there's enough money, but there's always something else. So, we came up with a program. It's an online course that really takes you through on what you value, how you value it, and how you put it to work and really start living your best life. And I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but like most people don't start living their best life or start getting real about their life until there's some major life event. It could be as simple, when I say simple, it could be a job loss, it could be divorce, it could be, God forbid, a health scare or death in the family, or just the sense of like their mortality. People around them have passed away. And I don't think people should wait to start living their best life till one of those major life events happen. And I don't think people should be, not everyone has access to us. And well, we are in like 42 states, but not everyone has access to us and can come to us. And I think sometimes some of these exercises are good just on your own, doing them, being like a self-paced course where you can really discover like what's important to you, why it's important, and putting it to work. So we put a lot of work in this last year of basically taking everything that we do for clients that people pay thousands of dollars for and putting it into an online course that is accessible to everyone. And I'm super excited. I wish something was out there for me when I was going through it. Instead, I kind of told you, like, I happen to go to a conference and see this happiness guy. I happen to be here. I happen to have some of these people in my life that all gave me all the tools that I needed and resources I needed to get to and through like my challenging times. And then obviously what I have in myself and the work I've done. But we wanted to put together something, and you don't need to be going through anything major. If you are going through major things, great. We have courses for that too. If you are going through job transition, divorce, or any of those other things, they're on there, and there's support and guidance. And I think this is a really just awesome place where you don't have to go through a major life event to need this. Like, when people start saying live your life like it's your last day or seize every day, it's kind of bullshit if we're going to be really honest. Like, what does that mean? Okay, so I'm supposed to I go to Vegas every day and party like a rock star? I mean, like, what does it mean? And this is where you really discover what it means. And I think you do some soul searching on what a good life is. And it really starts helping you compare yourself to others because I think on Instagram, like a couple weeks ago, I put on there snowing buckets here in Chicago, and I did my drive did my driveway for the 30th time, and I'm like, I'm over it. Like, where would you want to live and what would you want to do? And it was so funny. I got so many different responses of places warm, and some places are people that live in cold places are like, right here, right where I want to live. And you just like realize like everyone's life and what they value is so different. I'd rather live in a really tiny house and be able to travel a ton. I love my thing with my son as we go on these adventures. I've personally been to 21 countries. He's been to 6. We will, and I've been teaching him the idea of trade-offs, like, okay, we can do this or you can do this. And it's really been an awesome experience. But this course teaches you that, and it really starts to put into figuring out what you value and how you want to live your life. And again, really puts meaning to like live every day as if it's your last. Sorry, I can't talk. Live every day as if it's your last. It really puts meaning to that because I've always heard that and I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, am I not supposed to go to work today? Because like it would be my last day. Well, but I love work. Right. So anyways, we're super excited to launch. There's gonna be like a lot of things going on, just on social media platforms and communication and sharing stories. And I think it's more important than ever as well because we all get this when we're scrolling through social media. And, Chandra, I'm sure people have gotten it here. You're like, oh, look, she's like skinny now and she's like got it all perfect. Her life is wonderful. And people don't realize like the work and the struggle you put in. And you just get that one picture or that one thing of like the perfect family all dressed up to go, for a holiday. And that's really not reality. That's not life. Like I call it you always got to look what's behind the curtain. And I've learned that. And I think that's what's helped me through some of my struggles and, obstacles that have been in my life is I meet with hundreds of people with more money, more things, more everything than you could ever imagine. And then I realize, oh my gosh, behind the curtain, I never would have known. And I would take my life over theirs any day. And it's helped me put in perspective social media because we all get caught up in it. I mean, I'm guilty of it today. Sometimes I'm like, okay, get out of your own head, Nicole. Like, put the phone down. Because I'm like, oh my God, look, it's like if you're in one of those moods, everything just goes. So this helps you, like, again, design your life the way you want and what's important to you.
So one of the things, I know a little bit about the program through you, but one of the things that I love about it is this idea that, like, I think sometimes we have these like pre-baked ideas about what your best life is or like what a good life looks like. Like, we're Americans, you know what I mean? Like, there's an American understanding of like what a life well lived looks like. And I think we all have a little bit of like, we all at least have a taste of or an understanding of like, trying to keep up with the Joneses and like seeing all of our friends. It's like unfathomable to me sometimes. I'm like, I'll feel on top of the world. Like, I am so crushing it. Like, I'm killing my job. Like, my friendships are amazing. Like, I'm happy. I'm so happy with my family. I have my health. And then I'll see like my friends just buying like unimaginably amazing houses. And I'm like, how are you doing
Right.
it? Like,
How is that doing? Yep.
and then and sometimes I get down. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm never going to have a house like that. Or like, I'm never going to have this kind of car. Or I'm never going to like be able to travel the world or like all these things. And then sometimes I'm like, actually, I don't even know
if that's
want that. I want. Yeah.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I love the most about what you teach. And you always talk about it and you always preach it. And it's like just this foundational, like getting clear on what your why is. Like, it doesn't matter if everyone thinks that having the biggest house is the most important thing. Like, if it doesn't matter to me, then it doesn't matter. And so like, teaching that and teaching people how to do that it's awesome. Like, I'm super excited about it. I'm really excited for you and for this program. And like, I'm just excited for more people to have access to you and to all of this knowledge. Like, this is the reason that I wanted to do a podcast like this. Like, we each have a lifetime's worth of experiences that we've gathered. We're each like a novel, and we have the ability, if we are willing, to take our novel and like gift it to someone else. Like not everyone has to have the same whole lifetime's worth of experiences to learn from it and glean some like incredible, knowledge. So here's what I'm going to do for everybody who's still listening and paying attention. I am going to put up Nicole's information. She's got you have a webinar coming up later this week, right?
I
That you're
do,
doing.
yes.
So Nicole's doing a webinar just to talk a little bit more about like some of the things she's teaching. She's going to go a little bit more in depth into like, the stuff that we talked about earlier, like actual tips, like actual things you can do, how to start thinking about this. So if you're interested in more, getting a little bit more about that from Nicole, I'll share all that information here as well as like her social media and where you can learn more about Live Your Best Life and stuff like that. So that'll all be here if you want it. But also, I know I could chat with you all day long. Like I really could. Maybe we'll just have to chat again after this. But this is a fun thing that I wanted to bake into the end of these webinar or these podcasts. Is I want to just do this like rapid fire thing. I love watching like shows like the Ellen Show and stuff like that where they do these like rapid fire random questions at the end, and I just love getting like this like cheeky insight into people. So I'm gonna throw some crazy questions at you. They're not like super crazy, but just answer like instinctively. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. So are you a reader? You're a big reader?
I am a reader.
Okay, so what is your most influential, most impactful book, best book that you've read in the last 12 months?
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh my God, I love David Goggins. Okay, got excited there. Okay. So do you have a favorite person? Mine changes like day to day, but who's your favorite, most influential person to follow on social media right now?
Well, I have to say it's going to be you, and I'm not just saying it because I'm on here, but you have like just been real lately. Like that's the best way to say it. Like just down and dirty. Here's really what's going on with me and your struggles. And one of my personal goals this year is to really like take care of myself again. Sometimes I do a lot for others and I don't put myself first. And I'm really struggling with my own self-image and just weight. And so you getting real about how you've kind of like fallen off and getting back on, that has helped me. And I gotta say, you're it.
Well, thank you. That's really sweet. I'm going to pick you later for like another other person. Okay, so I love this. People ask me this all the time, and I know not everybody does this, but do you have a word for 2021?
Perseverance. 2020 was a hard year on so many levels. It was some of the best years from a business perspective for me, which I can't say for everyone else was. But I've had to persevere through some really hard stuff, like personally. So perseverance is it.
Love it. That's a good power word. Let's see. Do you know your Enneagram number?
I do. So I'm neck and neck. It's number 3, which is achiever, and number 2, which is giver, which totally is me. I mean, couldn't be more me.
It makes total sense. So it's funny. Like this is your rapid fire portion, but like I am totally a 3 collector. I have like a bunch of 3s and a bunch of 8s in my life. So I love that. It makes total sense. What's something that you have absolutely learned the hard way?
Not listening to my gut. Oh gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's taken me, I don't know how many times life has had to like slap me in the face and be like, you knew and you felt it and you still didn't listen. Hello.
Oh, that's such a good one. I love that. Okay, what's your favorite music or artist that you're listening to at the moment?
I'm always paying like Amazon Top Pop or Amazon Top Country. That's like what's going on right now.
Country girl, nice. I wouldn't have expected that. Okay. Favorite podcast right now. I'll go first. Mine's Crime Junkie. I'm obsessed.
Ooh, that's good. So I've been in this 2021 is like perseverance and just being in a positive attitude and kind of like a reset in my own head. So I came across this guy, Case Kenny. It's called New Mindset, who this and he does a lot more on like ends up getting into relationships, but it's a lot like just getting yourself in a positive mindset and letting shit go. So it's kind of helped give me, I'm really good at it, but sometimes everyone needs a little reset and a little touch up. I've needed a little touch up this year. So Case Kenny is it.
Case Kenny. All right, I'm going to compile these at the end too, so everyone can like see some of these because these are going to be really good recommendations. And everyone's always asking for podcast recommendations. I'm always looking for them, so that's good. Okay, so last one. Think for a moment, and don't be afraid to take a second and just like get really clear, center yourself. If you could give one piece of advice, where you are in your life right now, everything you've learned and been through, all of the struggles, all of the amazing stuff, like what's the one thing that you would like to share, whether it's a piece of advice, a cautionary tale, what's the one thing that Nicole Mayer, like her tidbit, like what tidbit would you give to the world?
You have the power to control your future. You are in total control, and you can control the controllables in your life. And don't be a victim to your circumstances. Everyone's got shit going on. Everything. And there's different variances. You can control your circumstances to some degree on some of the controllables. You have to learn how to not be the victim and pick up your, I call them your big girl pants or big boy pants, and just move forward. You may not know the direction you're going. You'll start to get clarity once you start moving, but you got to move forward and you'll start living your best life. But you can't start living your best life hoping, praying, just looking at everyone else's and being like, oh, they have it better than me, or this is the thing that is sucky in my life. You just got to keep moving. Every bad thing or obstacle that's been in, I should say obstacle that's been in my way, I've gotten past by totally moving, just moving forward.
I love it. I seriously adore you. I think you are just like you're doing the work. I love that. I love how amazing people like you and having conversations with people like you who are just got such a giving spirit, and you have so much to give to the world and so much to teach. Um, and I love that we're just like kind of like in the fight of, you know, you know, getting through stuff and like getting where we want to be, like side by side, and all of us. I just think it's so cool. So again, for everyone who's here and still listening, thank you, like from the bottom of my heart, for even showing up and listening to me today, for having a presence, for all of the continued like support and love that this community just seems to have unending stock of. It means the absolute world to me. This is episode 1 of Survive to Thrive, and with Nicole Mayer. And I'm going to share all of her stuff at the end so that you can follow her and see what she's up to and get some really good, interesting stuff from her. So, Nicole, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Bye. Let's do it again soon. Okay.